開けたら何かが変わるかな星が見えない夜テーブ燃え尽きちゃえば今晩は何にも残らない溢れ出しては涙に変え数分後には笑えていたり電気みたいに予測できない気の向くままに自分のことさえ疑ってしまう確かか確かなんておかしい後悔したなら理想の影の中隅っこが落ち着く場所だからずっとここから初めて来たけどこの世界の果てを知らない開けたら何かが変わるかな月のドアを叩いたら燃え尽きちゃえば今晩は虚しい気持ちさ開けたら何かが変わるかな月のドアを叩いたら燃え尽きちゃえば明日にはと思って夢を見る
Stream. Yep, that's how we're starting. Alright, so, hello, it's stream time. So it's Saturday, which means normally I would be playing Valkyrie Profile, but then I decided I kind of just want to do reminiscing instead. I just want to have a short stream where, I just take a look back at the things that happened in 2022, specifically the video games that happened, because, well, a lot of other stuff happened, and most of it's not good. Some of it's, like, Schadenfreude good, though. Like, look, sometimes stuff is bad. However, I think we can all just take solace in the fact that no one here will purchase a website that makes fun of us for $44 billion. I know for a fact that if you happen to be watching this, you will never see $44 billion in your life. Not all at once, not over time. That's a thing that we all have in common if we're here. And if you do have anywhere approaching $44 billion, patreon.com/Fefner, I can help you avoid rich person brain rot if you just throw money at me. Nobody else is required to actually give me money through Patreon or Coffee, unless you're extremely rich, in which case you are getting taxed here of all places. But yeah, no, other than that hellhole that an idiot billionaire has dug himself into, and will hopefully continue being in for the foreseeable future, video games happened, so yeah, I'm gonna cut to Pedal Crash. This is gonna be kind of a Pedal Crash stream, but only sort of. I'm just gonna mostly be playing this in the background. Alright, so let's see, let's do time trial. So, I guess to start out, could always just start with this game, cause, look, alright. Okay, so, look, this game's a couple years old, but, like, I don't know, if I try to come up with, like, 2020 games, we're gonna be here for, that works, I'm not gonna have, like, a top 10 list or anything. I don't think I actually played 10 new games over the course of this year. I don't play many new games. In fact, hold on a sec. I have the Steam replay somewhere here. That'll say what percentage of new games I played. Let me just check that real quick. I wanna see that. So let's see. Steam 2022 replay. Let's see. Page again. Alright, so let's see. Alright, so my percentage of new releases that I played was 6%, as compared to like 17%. That's what the average person played in terms of games that were released in 2022. 6% of the games I played were at least older. My majority was actually released in the last 1 to 7 years. I have 53%, though. Most people have 64%, that's the average percent there. However, 41% of what I played was released 8 or more years ago, as compared to 19%. So, when it comes to playing old shit, I'm real good at that. I can play things that did not come out this year. So anyway, yeah, but yeah, still, since I don't play a lot of, new games, I'll just do everything, basically, so everything between, games I played for stream and for, stream and LPs, and I guess what little I played on my own? I sometimes played a game for myself every once in a while. It happens. But yeah, anyway, Pedal Crash, real good puzzle game. I enjoyed this one a lot. I thought I was going to be terrible at it because I don't have a lot of, you know, puzzle games that I'm particularly good at. Like, my frames of reference, though, are Puyo, which I am god-awful at, and Tetris, which I'm okay at. I can play an okay game of Tetris. When it's me just kind of casually putzing around, I can do that. I can play a Tetris. What are you gonna do about it? Nothing, that's what. You will not come to my house and stop me from playing Tetris, unless you can T-spin, in which case I am screwed. Yeah, no, it's a very learnable puzzle game, with just an absolutely amazing aesthetic. Like, this game is really charming, and it would also be really charming if it was just this. Like, if I just looked at the main puzzle mode, I would not really be missing anything per se. Because it still looks real cute just from just its main mode, which is good and kind of a necessity. Like, what puzzle game can you remember that looks out and out bad, right? You can probably just remember the good ones. Like, Tetris has a good format. Puyo also looks good. I'm bad at it, but like, it's got a good interface. You can look at Puyo and think, that looks cool. But that's not all there is to this game. There is also just some really charming writing and character design. Which again are things that you wouldn't initially think are entirely necessary, until you kind of sit down and think that some of them do actually have, like, interesting characters. Like, I think that's more Puyo's thing than anything else. Puyo is more of the character-based game. They had to make up characters for the Tetris Puyo crossover. They had to make Tetris OCs. But, you know, really good cast and really good writing. Like, I can't imagine there being a better puzzle game story mode than this. In part because this is another thing that's absolutely learnable and beatable. Like, if I played a Puyo, I could not beat a Puyo. Like, okay, frame of reference if you're not usually into Puyo games, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. If you're like me, you have never gotten past, like, stage 2 of Puyo Tetris. Maybe you've gotten to stage 3, but even that's kind of a push. You can maybe get to stage 3, and that's about it. But this one, like, anything you need from a character's, like, main story, you can get just by persevering. Of course, granted, the difficulty does lower if you lose a lot. So, you know, difficulty scales like that. It's kind of like Kid Icarus in that capacity. So, I don't know, some people might be kind of iffy on that. I remember when I played Kid Icarus way back when, I wasn't actually that big a fan of the fact that it forced difficulty lowering when you died. I don't know, I kind of just wanted to stay on one difficulty even if I was bad. I didn't like that punishment there, but that was an action game, so I don't know, I feel a little differently about that than I do here. This is a puzzle game, so, you know, it's short, you can get through it pretty quickly. But yeah, no, just a super charming game. I'll try Trash Trial. I don't think I've done this before. But yeah, very charming game that I enjoyed. A whole lot. Definitely up there. I've not uninstalled the game since, you know, I did the stream. I mean, I don't always play it, but I always want it in the back of my pocket. You never know when I might want to play Pedal Crash. Could happen at any moment. I could just be, you know, minding my own business, and then BAM! I'm in the mood to play Pedal Crash. It happens. Alright, so now is the actually challenging part where I have to think about things that aren't in front of me right this very moment. So let's see. Well, that's why I brought up my YouTube. Okay, so first off, honorary mention, I did not start playing Get in the Car Loser in 2022, but I did finish it in 2022, so I want to say that counts because I want to mention Get in the Car Loser. Very good game. Good RPG, very simple and challenging in places. Not always super challenging, though. I feel like Chapter 2 was this weird balance thing where they really expected you to have, like, a grasp on elemental weaknesses, or not even a grasp, just like, they expected you to do elemental weaknesses a lot. And then after that, it didn't matter as much, and like, whatever. Oh god, I am screwed. I cannot parse anything I can do right now. Piss. Okay, I'm bad with Trash Trial. Anyway, though, yeah, like, Get in the Car Loser had a very fun, dang it, system, very, it's very setup-based in terms of what it wants you to do. Overgrown. So, like, pretty much any given situation, you're going to win a fight or lose a fight, depending on what you have when you go into it. But I don't know, I kind of like that sort of RPG system. I don't see it a lot, typically. But I thought it worked out pretty well. Again, like, I could have probably played a harder mode. I don't know how hard mode gets, but, you know. It was an option if I really wanted the challenge, which I might be interested in that at some point. I did really enjoy the game, so at some point I might go back and replay hard mode just to see what that's like. But yeah, Chapter 2 was a little bit repetitive because of that, but like, the rest of the game was extremely solid. Had a lot of fun just swinging into a fight and just wedging every enemy I could find. It's a very interesting loop that's also helped by the fact that, like, you are constantly changing what your item set actually is. So, like, you are constantly doing different strategies in each chapter until you settle on something for the final one. And also it helped that all the weapon, or the, items had, like, Nier-esque or Dragon Guard-esque, descriptions and stories alongside of them, which, you know, were less depressing than those games, I will say. You are therefore a better time than you would be reading the, weapon descriptions for Nier. Or Dragon Guard, especially. So yeah, like, you're constantly changing strategies and constantly incentivized to do it. Both because, like, pretty much any given strategy was pretty fun in its own right. Some people might be a little more stubborn on what they want out of a party, but I don't know. I settled into liking just about everything. And you're also just encouraged to collect everything, because it has its own little description. And also, huge shout out to the entire soundtrack of Getting the Car Loser, which, that in DLC 1 is all I paid for, because at the time the game was free. It's no longer, which is understandable. It's entirely fair to want to actually sell your very good game. But the soundtrack was definitely worth it, though. Excellent soundtrack, and, like, that is a game that had a lyrical theme that I never got bored of. Every time I went into battle, I was hyped for it. Spirit of the Times was fantastic, and so were basically every other song. Begone the Bygone, the boss theme was excellent, as were all of the final boss themes. Blood, Sour, and Bile is very good. Actually, that's the second of the two final boss. There's also, like, there's a theme for the guy that came before that, but he's not the Machine Devil, so I don't care about him. But yeah, like, Machine Devil and Blood, Sour, and Bile were both just fantastic songs. Love them. Absolutely phenomenal themes. Oof, I should do something about this. Damn it. I will also say, characters, very good. Love that. Plot in general was a very fun road trippy thing. Don't know how it compares to most of what Christine Love does, but thought the characters were very fun. They all got pretty good moments in the sun overall. Sam especially. It was nice just having a chapter where a trans character could just kind of vent about their emotions for a bit. It was, you know, kind of messy, but overall very good. Chapter 3 was, a lot. But also kind of cathartic and, ooh, what the fuck do I do here? And it's not really something I see a lot in most games, but yeah. Chapter 3 was very good. Chapter 2 is also the weakest, because that was the one where the boss was the one nerd. Yeah, that was Valentin's storyline, which, you know, was fine, but also, I did want to wedgie that nerd and throw him in a locker, so, you know. Yeah, there was also the old comment, but yeah, no, the DLC was also fun, but, like, man, did I have a bad setup for that boss. I should have waited for a little bit to do that one. Could not do that with the, Demon Clock or whatever that was called. Got almost everything in the game Demon Clocked, but I just did that too early, and my weapon set was not good enough to actually tackle that one. Yeah, that was, good DLC as well. And man, if only the next DLC had come out, at some point this year, then I could have also said, oh yeah, Get in the Car Loser, absolutely a 2022 game, but it has not come out. I did check. I guess it would help to, like, follow Christine Love on Twitter or, you know, whatever. Wherever she goes after Twitter explodes, but, you know. Look. Following people is intimidating. Not that anybody cares when you follow them, that's just your paranoia talking to you. But still, there's some anxiety. And even the slightest possibility that someone out there knows you exist. Continue. But yeah, when DLC 2 happens, I will absolutely be there for it. So anyway, yeah, that's Get in the Car Loser, just fantastic soundtrack, writing, characters, just the whole thing. It's a good, short game. I enjoyed it a lot. You should play it. Gotta pay for it now, but you know what? Even having gotten, you know, the base game for free, I would say I would have absolutely paid for it, if asked. Entirely worth it, great game. I would say it's the only queer RPG that I can think of off the top of my head, but one actually came out recently that I want to play, that had a very on-the-nose title. What was it, like? Okay, I need to look it up real quick. Let's see, It's just like lesbian animal RPG or something like that. Again, very on-the-nose title. Alright, I can't sort by date added, so guess I'll control this. That's not helping. I'm like the one person who has a longer wish list than actual games owned on Steam. Super Lesbian Animal RPG. I don't know why Control F wasn't helping me there. I guess it can't actually hit the titles. Or maybe it just hadn't loaded it. But anyway, yeah, very on the nose, but, love the sprite work on that one. Looks like a very nice game. And again, I can tell, through my amazing powers of context clues, that it is a queer game as well. I know you're all very impressed by my ability to deduce things, much like Sherlock Holmes I am. Though, I don't know, could Sherlock Holmes have figured out that stumper? Probably not, but anyway. That's something that, if I do get around to playing that, I'll be mentioning next year, the year after it came out. Unless I absolutely hate it and never want to speak of it again, but I don't know, something tells me that won't happen. Sometimes I'm just optimistic about things. Weird, right? I actually like things sometimes. Alright, well, let's see. Speaking of liking things, what do I like the next thing that's on that list? Next thing on that list is Dark Souls, which is another thing I technically started in 2021. However, did not get anywhere near finishing it in 2021. That has been one of the more prominent streams of 2022, and you know what? Just nice to finally play some Dark Souls, honestly. Like, as I mentioned when I actually, you know, did the stream of it, but like, I'd played Dark Souls before, never got far in it, but it was cool to see the full thing. And, you know, I will say also, solid game. There's a reason it's pretty popular. Though there's also a reason people hesitate to play it because, you know, the fan base. They're very overbearing at times, but, you know, the nice thing is, I only got yelled at by some idiot once. There was only one get good idiot in the comments at any point in that entire stream, which, let's see, that was 38 videos. That was 38 sessions. That's pretty good. And even then, that guy wasn't that bad. didn't badger me. It was more just the blah, 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 you're doing this and that. And it's like, yeah, I sure am, buddy. Sure am playing this video game with the options that are presented to me in the video game. Damn, imagine that. And did you know that the options I chose weren't always 100% foolproof? You know, you can have an easier time with the Dark Knight sword. Still gotta put in effort, though. Weird. Anyway, though, yeah, no. Obnoxious fanbase aside, Dark Souls 1 is very good. Just pretty solid game design overall. It can be a little bit spiteful at times, but, you know, it's nothing, like, ruinous, right? Like, even though you can't necessarily respec yourself in the middle of a game, you would have to be trying to dig yourself in a hole that you couldn't get out of just through a little bit of grinding. You know, I think I mentioned at one point, but it's very Undertale in its mentality, in that, like, it's got a reputation of being like, oh, it's so super hard, but in reality, it's a game about persevering, and how that can, you know, it can be a good thing to persevere, but also, considering the ending, it can also be a bad thing, you know? You can make personal accomplishments by throwing yourself against a wall again and again and again and never giving up, though also, sometimes, maybe you should just let the world die. It's more bleak than Undertale, but, you know, the general idea is the same. But yeah, no, like, it's a bit dated. It shows its age a little bit. But not horribly. It's still entirely playable. I very much enjoyed the various playstyles and how I kind of just, you know, I experimented a little bit, and I gravitated towards certain weapons, and it's fun to do that sometimes. And the world of Dark Souls is also a very pretty one. It's just fun to explore that yourself. Again, a game that I have seen on multiple occasions. Nothing was completely blind for me. You know, I had to stitch some of it back together while playing. It's not like I remember the game perfectly, but, you know, it was nothing completely unseen for me. Yeah, just a good, pretty game. FromSoft makes good stuff. Oh man, I still kind of want to play Elden Ring, though. I've not played that yet, and of course that one is you know, very popular on the lists of 2022 games. That is a game that did come out in 2022. I don't think I have much else to say about Dark Souls, though, just because, like, it's been done a lot. People who know things better than me have probably talked your ear off about Dark Souls and, you know, what it means and what lessons you can get from it and all that and all that. People have discussed Dark Souls before. It's, you know, it's a bit popular. Few people have heard of that Dark Souls game. So let's see, let me go back to YouTube. Okay, so Mega Man and Bass is the next game on there. That was an LP game. Pretty solid. Definitely my favorite of the two SNES games. In part because you can play as Bass, the Shadow the Hedgehog of the Mega Man series, and... Okay, look, Bass is actually a huge dork, is the thing. He's a huge dork who just really wants to fight Mega Man. But he's so bad at it, though. He tries to be edgy, but he's not that effective. Honestly, like, if he actually wants to be intimidating, he's gotta be Bass from, Mega Man Battle Network, who is by far the edgier design, because he also has a cool cape, but, I've not actually LP'd a game where he has a personality, only the first game where he just shows up as the super boss. And when I say that, I mean, he just shows up as a super boss. He's just there. You just do a bunch of things, and when your file has enough stars, you can just get jumped by a real rude motherfucker. Separate from the other rude motherfuckers in that particular area of the internet. But anyway, yeah, no, the Mega Man and Bass, very fun game. I feel like its level design does a better job at kind of ironing out the kinks of Mega Man 7. The kinks would have been worse if I had played the Game Boy Advance version, because the screen size in that game is, you know, infamous for just how terrible it is. It is a known factor that Mega Man and Bass GBA is just real bad. But yeah, no, just, new playable characters, real cool. He makes for a fun gameplay style, and all the levels were just real solid. Had real good themes as well, good music. That being said, fuck King's Castle. One of the absolute worst end game stages in the entire series. Just because that first one especially just... Ugh. The one with all of the mini-bosses, and then King was just miserable. Other than that, though, fun experience. Let's see, after that... Okay, so Fire Emblem Echoes started this year. That'll continue on into next year. I'm actually kind of close to the end of the game, though. Just got to Act 4, which should not be as long as Act 3, I don't think. I think it's shorter. And then it's just Act 5, which is short. And then the post-game. But anyway, I don't see much of a point in talking about Fire Emblem, because it's a game I'm LPing. I will have final thoughts on that later, but I'm enjoying myself. I liked Echoes. Gaiden's not one of my favorite games, but they remade it pretty well. I can appreciate what Gaiden was trying to do, even if it's not my favorite Fire Emblem format. That being said, though, in terms of LPs, I feel like this has been my favorite, like, run-on jokes from any LP. Just... Alm staring at the sun was... just... phenomenal. I managed to forget that he did that in the time between me recording that episode and me just sitting down and having to think for more than 5 seconds about that throwaway voice clip, or not voice clip, but the throwaway flavor text of Alm just looking at the sun and blinding himself. So yeah, I love that, and I also love Alm's crippling orange addiction. That's just funny. Anyway, though, let's see, next playlist on there is Klonoa Door to Phantomile. What a cute little platformer. That game is a cult classic for a reason. What a lovely little game. That will absolutely break your fucking heart. It's a really fun game, solid mechanics. Like, for a mascot platformer, it really holds up very well. I feel like a lot of mascot platformers just kind of not having an identity. They exist. They are platforming games, you play them. You probably remember them if you play them in your childhood, because that's your game. That's the game that you know and nobody else does, and that can be special in its own way. I will not begrudge the mascot platformer, unless it's Arrow the Acrobat, in which case, I'm so sorry that's your childhood game. That being said, though, like, Klonoa, gameplay-wise, very fun. That is a fun game in of itself. Very simple, but very charming. Fun to play. Somewhat challenging without being overly so. But god damn. Oh, just the blowing up Grandpa is just one scene that will probably just obliterate you just out of nowhere. Because, like, up until that point, the game's writing is okay. You know, it's very 80s adventure, right? You know, you're a cute little guy, you have a cute orb friend, you're going around the world, and you gotta stop the evil bad guy. It's him. He's like, oh, what is his name? Like Gaudius or something like that. I don't quite remember his name, but I remember what he looks like vaguely. He's just a big masked, cloaked man. And his absolutely awful, henchman, Joka, who we all hate. We all despise Joka for what he has done, all the crimes he has committed. He can never be forgiven. He will be forbidden. But yeah, no, this is just like a very 80s adventure. It's very, very cute, charming, and then they blow up Grandpa, and it's like, oh, cool. Klonoa gets to learn about death. And then you think that, oh, well, maybe that's it, right? Maybe that's it for the tugging at the heartstrings thing. Maybe after that it'll just be standard stuff, and I mean, it's actually got a pretty good tone at the end there. It gets serious fairly well. As you have to run off and stop the horrible nightmare that Gaudius made. And then you find out that Klonoa doesn't actually exist in the world, and Hyupo has to send him off to the next world after saving him, and just... I'm not going to think about it too much, or I will cry on the spot. I do really wish I had gotten to play Klonoa 2, but to be fair, I was playing it in anticipation of the Klonoa collection, which did come out not long afterwards, so you could play Klonoa 2, you could figure out what's gonna make you cry in that game, and trust me, something would. I can promise you that, don't worry. They did not mess that one up. There's still plenty of emotional story. Actually, I mean, like, my problem was an emulation issue. I mean, like, there's nothing stopping me from just, like, getting the game off Steam. Well, that's an idea for 2023 then. I'll just fucking play Klonoa 2. And I won't have to worry about emulators and how they don't like OBS sometimes. Steam also doesn't like OBS sometimes, but like, I don't know, it's not usually as bad, unless it's Way of the Samurai 4, in which case it just completely ruins the VOD. Can't even upload the VOD because it was unwatchable. It was actually unwatchable. But yeah, no, Klonoa. Still love that game, and it was nice to really be able to play it for myself. Because I've never really, done a personal playthrough of it. I still aren't... Probably remembered in, or like closer when I actually did that stream, but I want to say I played a little bit of it, you know, because PCSXR exists, and I would have been curious about it, but I never really, like, played it. Also, Loka, that would have been a bad screenshot LP. They would have said, hey, you need to have more screenshots. There is no context for what happens between one event and another. Alright, so let's see. After that was Mega Man 9. Mega Man 9 was good. I liked it. I feel like it's a solid game that is able to thrive in more than just returning to the 8-bit games, because if that's all they did, I would have hated it. Because they also returned to the 8-bit games, but like, without jumping and sliding, and I've said this so many times, but like, a majority of the classic games had jumping and sliding even before the 16-bit games. Like, you're doing a disservice removing mechanics. Alright, and then after that, oh boy, after that was Dragon Ball FighterZ. Okay, so, I will say, as a base, as a blanket statement, very good game. I like playing fighters. As far as fighting games go, I do like how new player friendly it is. I don't know how much... Some people might hate the fact that, like, everybody has, quote-unquote, the same combos, and that, like, everybody has the same set of buttons, right? Like, you're not going to get a completely different library of moves per character when you want to play Dragon Ball FighterZ, you know? Everybody will have, like, their own quarter circle, and, you know, so on and so forth. It's just they do different things, and actually learning the game involves learning what a character can do. So, like, it takes away a step that's in a lot of fighting games, which is even learning like, more than one character is just a pain. And, like, especially in games where you play as more than one character per fight, which is pretty common for the most part. Like, that is a lot of work to do just to be able to play the game at an okay level. But, yeah, Dragon Ball FighterZ removes that, and I can appreciate that. So you have a decent idea of how to control everybody, you just have to figure out what makes them unique. I like that. I also mostly like FighterZ' story mode, but most of that stems from everything that has to do... or everything that doesn't have to do with actually playing FighterZ story mode. So, like, it is the same game, of course. It's not like they're giving you a completely different fighting game to work with, but the issue is the fact that the AI is never particularly good. It takes ages for the AI to be anywhere remotely close to competent, and for the game to stop giving you tutorials for things you either already know how to do, or forgot and will probably continue forgetting. And like, the overall story itself is an okay skeleton of a story, but like, FighterZ is way too long for me to have particularly enjoyed it. Like, actively, I wish there was less story mode in that story mode. Because, like, even when the AI gets good, by the time it does get good, you're going to be sick of it. Like, it never gets so good that I was, like, super involved in the fights in story mode. And, like, by the end, I couldn't even bother 100%ing it, and it's just a matter of, like, going to, you know, every fight on a given board, but it just got so dull. I was so done by the end. I just couldn't do it anymore. But yeah, like, that being said, as repetitive as the story, or as story mode was, and the fact that, like, it was too long, like, not even from a gameplay standpoint, but also just, like, the android story should have been so good, but the first half of it was just the androids going around being like, huh, here's some clones, you better fight them. Alright, we fought the clones. Android 21 is going to freak out a bit. She's freaked out, let's continue. And just... nothing happens for the longest time until Android 16 fucking dies, and his death improves everything. His death fixes the story so that things actually happen, which is a pleasant change of pace. Sorry, 16. Maybe you should have gotten a story mode, better story mode, though, if you didn't want to die for it to improve. But yeah, like, other than that, though, like, the individual dialogues and just, like, the, random scenes the very fan servicey scenes of like, here are two characters who like have chemistry together that you would know of from the show, and sometimes here's some characters who basically never interact, and here's them interacting, and that was always fun. I enjoyed the heck out of that one. Honestly, like, if you want to enjoy Fighters' story mode, really the best option is to just go onto YouTube and search all of the optional scenes. Not even all the optional scenes, the fucking the link scenes that you get for getting affinity with characters aren't that fun, because they're the characters talking to you, the player. So it's just very generic lines that aren't particularly interesting. Yeah, that's the other thing about the story mode that I didn't really like, is just, okay, look, I know you need to explain certain things, but like, why did you have the player insert there? That really didn't add anything, and they just vanished by, like, the end of all 3 story modes. It just wasn't important. Anything else? No, I think that's it. Alright, so let's see. Next on the list is Shantae Risky's Revenge. Apologies again that I accidentally hiatused throughout the year. That LP is about to be done, though, so that's another one I'm not going to do final thoughts for, because it's almost there. You'll hear my thoughts then. Alright, after that is Gunpoint. Oh man, Gunpoint was a short one, but that one was fun. What a charming little puzzle game. It had been ages since I'd seen it, and I really wanted to see it again, and yeah, no, this is a silly game. Not like super laugh out loud funny or anything, but I enjoyed it. Funny little bits of dialogue. But also, nice gameplay. I enjoyed this weird, jumping, stealth, or punch people to death gameplay. It's a very Flash game in its presentation, and like the style of puzzles it gives you, you know? I don't know how relevant Flash games are to people anymore, but, you know. Look, millennials will get it. Millennials will know about, you know, just kind of the Flash game style. But yeah, just the sort of hybrid platformer, puzzle, stealth, gameplay is just... I could just envision that on Newgrounds. It's not derogatory or anything. I can respect that. I just realized some people might consider that an insult, but no, just look. Alright. Sometimes, when you just open the whole thing up so that anybody can upload anything they want, a lot of it's maybe not great, but there are some very creative people who, you know, got an opportunity they wouldn't have had without that sort of thing, and are talented. Getting off topic here. But, yeah, no, Gunpoint was good. Still holds up all this time later. And I would still recommend it. Very short, but easy to get into. Very simple. This is good. there you go. There's my review. This is pretty solid. Let's do that. I meant to do that. Alright, let's see, so... Oh, they're actually making a new game. Oh, Oh yeah, the tone issue is one thing. Yeah, no, oh god, right, yeah, no, there was just a suicide in the middle of that. And then it was back to jokes. And also, like, some of the like, journals were very bleak in comparison to what they were going for. Anyway, though, yeah, interesting knowing they're doing a new game. I should keep that one in mind. Alright, after that, Mega Man 10. It's like Mega Man 9, but the level design and bosses were worse. Pedal Crash I've already discussed, so not much of a point in doing that. Valkyrie Profile, still not done with that, but thus far I've pretty well enjoyed what they've done with that. Tri-Ace, from what I understand, can be kind of spiteful in their game design. And you know, that certainly comes across here. Sometimes I play Valkyrie Profile and think, boy, the devs hate me personally. But overall, it's a pretty solid game. Very enjoyable, unique RPG, and like, definitely the kind that I feel like I missed out on by only really playing Final Fantasy as sort of my RPGs, especially in terms of PS1 stuff. Like, I think the only RPGs I've ever beat for PS1 are just the Final Fantasies, and I don't regret that or anything. I love those games. 7, 8, and 9 are all really good. I know some people think 7's overrated, and some people really hate 8, but I like them all. Nobody's going to say 9 is bad, though, and if they do, they're fools and charlatans. But yeah, no, like, I do really like the style of, like, not classic RPG. Like, it's still turn-based, but you also have this, like, almost fighting game-like combo system that I actually kind of want to see in more games. Xenogears is a game I have played, but I've never beaten because the mech sections are not great. Weird that that's the worst part, but yeah, Xenogears has a similar thing where it's actually kind of a fighting game, in addition to just an RPG, so like you've got combos and all that. Legend of Dragoon has like timed hits, and everybody has like their own various combos. That's another one I've played, but for some reason I haven't beat. Even though it's a game about people with like cool dragon armor that they can transform into, and also a man shouts "Spinning Cane" and "Harpoon," which is great. I should also finish Legend of Dragoon at that point. That one I just kind of dropped off of, though, because, like, at the time I wasn't super in... Actually, no, it was a little bit of, like, kind of hit a boring point, but also, emulation for that wasn't great back in the day. So there were a lot of freezes, so it was kind of hard to get into it from that. But anyway, yeah, back to the topic at hand, though. Valkyrie Profile. Fun to play, though sometimes it is very rude. And I wish there were just, like, a few more systems in place. Like, I wish there was aggro so that enemies wouldn't just automatically target the weakest person in the party. Because they absolutely do that, and it does get frustrating. When it's just like, oh cool, I want to use a character I haven't used in a while, and now they're just getting their faces beaten in. That's great, and makes me want to play hard mode where everybody starts at level 1. So yeah, a few frustrations, but like, overall, I like the setup of it. Just, you're a Valkyrie, your party members are, you know, all the ghosts you collect along the way. And while I don't think all of the stories are the best, I do like the idea of every character getting their own little story. I don't even necessarily mind the idea that, like, some of them are more involved than others. Like, it's fine if some characters just get kind of short storylines, because, that's just how life is sometimes. Sometimes you really don't have that much of a lead up before your death. Sometimes you're just a soldier, you get sent off to war, you die, and that's it. But I don't know, some of them feel like they're missing a little something. Can't exactly nail what it is, but it's something alright. Sometimes you do get a cactus wish. Sometimes the ghost you get is just the absolute worst motherfucker on the face of the earth. Sometimes it's just a guy who sucks, both in terms of fighting and in personality. But yeah, I like how the game is, shown through the lens of, Valkyrie, Lenneth, who doesn't particularly care about human beings. So, it's one of those games that's a little more vague in terms of what's happening, and, it's fine, because that's not the focus, so you get the sense that, there's all these wars happening, and things are getting pretty bad in the human realm. It's not just Ragnarok's approach that is bad, but also, that's not your goddamn problem. Valkyrie doesn't care about people. Emotions are dumb, just get in the party and help me fight these horrible monsters. And I'm on chapter 7 of 8, so I am getting close to the end. So I've covered most of, what the game is about. Kinda got a feeling of what was going on early on. And along the way, thanks to mechanics, I sort of figured out what it meant. But man, it is not easy to get that A ending, so... you might not pick up on things if you're playing the game without a guide, because you wouldn't know there was an A ending, and therefore the stuff that goes into the A ending would be hidden from, everything you do. So, you might not pick up on that aspect of it. There are a few loose ends, though, there's a couple characters who have known Lenneth, but we don't know much more than that. Oh god, there was the one guy whose name I've forgotten, who had a whole castle, and I could either fight him or not fight him. I did not fight him, and then his castle vanished, so gotta see what comes from that later. For now, it's a mystery. Rams, yes, that sounds correct. And then, of course, there's just Rem Lazard, whom I hate. That guy just fucking sucks. He's awful. His castle sucks. He's not dead, though, so, Also, unfortunately, he might not be the final boss, because recently a different character just revealed themselves to have ulterior motives, and then revealed themselves to have a final boss form. So... I might kill Rem Lazar at one point, but, he probably isn't the ultimate villain like I thought he would be. I mean, Mestina sucks, but, not nearly as aggressively as anyone else. See, the problem is, Bad Rats is mostly a worse person, because, he just sucks. At least Lazard has, he has actual competence. He's a smug bastard, but, at least he can do anything. But also, he's the sex creep of the game as well. He's just uncomfortably horny about Valkyrie and her many clones that he's made of her. So, that's uncomfortable. I'm gonna say they suck equally in different ways. Well, not equally. I want both of them to go away. I guess that's sort of the the conclusion there. Both of them can just get out of my house. Though, to be fair, now I never have to acknowledge Bad Rats again outside of, seeing him in the menus. Whereas, Remlazard's gonna appear again at some point. I'm gonna say it's Remlazard. I have to deal with him again eventually. At least in death, I can just shove Bad Rats onto the bench, and I only have to acknowledge him a little. I cannot parse this board right now. Alright, well, since I'm not done with Valkyrie profile yet, I don't think I have much more to say. Still waiting to see how the rest of the story goes, but, I can also say the music's pretty good. And of course, I adore that this is an RPG with special attacks. Like, that's what drew me to the game in the first place, was just all the Purify Weird Souls, and it's been nice actually seeing them in action. So now I better remember, like, what they actually are and what the voice lines are. So I get, Icicle Disaster! Now I've actually seen that in action, but I also have, It Shall Be Engraved Upon Your Soul, which is great. Valkyrie's great. Alright, so let's see, what's after Valkyrie profile? After Valkyrie profile is Prototype. Hey, remember Prototype? Oh my god, okay, so okay. Prototype has a central premise that I still like. I like the idea of a game with weird biomass mutant powers, and I would have appreciated a game that was just that, with different excuses to actually utilize the various powers you get throughout the game. But, oh boy. Yeah. Alex Mercer just fucking sucks. Like, the story in general wasn't good, and I wasn't expecting anything interesting from, like, a AAA Activision game. Even then, I was still just kind of annoyed at it. It's just, oh no, the military is here to kill these mutants, but also the military's evil too, and they want to harness the mutants or whatever. It's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't care about these characters. I don't care about their motivations. None of them are interesting. And Alex Mercer, like, there's almost an interesting plot there with him where it's like, you find out in the course of the game, and I have absolutely no problems spoiling a game that is very old and not that good storyline-wise anyway. Yeah, no, just the fact that it turns out that he's not actually the original Alex Mercer. He's just the virus that ate Alex Mercer on Ground Zero, and whoops, as it turns out, original Alex just fucking sucked as a person. He was just a wholly garbage human being who unleashed a virus out of spite, mostly. But they don't do anything interesting with it. Like, his conclusion at the end of the game is like, blah blah blah, I'm gonna be like a superhero virus or whatever the fuck that ending was. I survived blowing up, I'm back, a few parts of me survived so I can reform, because it's that type of biomutants. So I survived, and I'm gonna, like, protect Manhattan or whatever. Protect it from something, I don't know. It's just worse Shadow the Hedgehog, right? You get to choose either between the military or some type of monster. You know, in Shadow the Hedgehog it was aliens. Here it's just mutants. But also the mutants always hate you and the military always hates you, just like in Shadow, so why would you ever help the mutants, though, because they just suck. They're just mutants. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I didn't even do that much of it, because I kind of gave up on doing the damn side quests partway through. Mainly because most of them were either vehicle or gun shit. Like, oh my god. Why would you put so much time into the gunplay? I know the answer to that. It's because it was a AAA game, so of course there had to be guns in the AAA game. Otherwise, the gamers might get bored if we have them focus on the cool mutant powers that you have. Yeah, no, I tried not to use guns unless I absolutely had to, and sometimes you do, because there's just not much even cool mutant powers can do. But a rocket launcher, oh, that can do stuff. My least favorite moments were absolutely the ones where you either pretty much had to use the rocket launcher or a tank or whatever, otherwise you would just have a miserable time. Don't like being forced to do the boring option. God, in helicopters, just why? But you know what? Honorary mention, though, to the fact that I did manage to get excited about it. Like, after session 1. Because, you know, first session was like, oh cool, I get to play Prototype. I get to have a stupid fun game that's just real dumb, and I can just go around smashing stuff with neat powers. But then eventually I got to be a Kamen Rider out of nowhere. And look, it was a weird, edgy Kamen Rider, but like they gave me the full-on, like, bio armor, mode where you could just be in a suit, and like Luca pointed out, it's probably like a Guyver or whatever. I'm not familiar though, so I can just say it's one of those usually not very good edgy Kamen Riders, but I still managed to get excited about it. I had that, I had a sword arm. It was neat. It was fine. And I had a little more time to be excited about that before I got kind of bored again because the game is not great. It appealed specifically to me. I don't think anybody expected it to appeal that hard to me, but you know, it still happened and I can still appreciate that. Prototype 2 is apparently at least a little better. I'm not in a huge hurry to play it, though. Because, again, that's another Activision game, and Activision as a company just kind of fucking sucks. See, I already owned Prototype, so, like, that was fine, but I don't want to give money to them, because they're just bad. So let's see, I don't think I have anything else to say on Prototype, right? I think it would just be a whole lot of sighing and grunting, so... After that, Dust and Elysian Tale. Alright, so... Dust, of course, is another fairly old game, as many of them have been. But man, it was also a game that I had played way back when, but never finished, because I played it in college, so... Of course... I wound up not being able to finish it, because sometimes you just get busy with things, and then you never touch them again, until you stream them years later, but yeah. Very charming game, made mostly by one person. Pretty solid voice performances all around, rather. In terms of stuff, you know, that person didn't do. Didn't do all the voice work, but very good voice work, but... absolutely stunning animation on that game. Like, Dust holds up completely. It is still an absolutely gorgeous game. It's just amazingly animated. Not particularly complex in its combat system, but it's a short enough game that it can get away with not being complex. And like, it could have still been... It could have still gotten old, is the thing. It could have still gotten old, in its combat system, but no, it doesn't. It is flashy in a way that I never got tired of, and always found engaging. not like in a complex way, but, you know. It was not the kind of fighting game or action game that I had to put a lot of thought into. I don't want to call it, like, entirely mindless. Still, though, it was fun, not monotonous is, I guess, the point there. Not really much I can say about that without talking in circles. But yeah, no, lovely looking game. Pretty good, script writing for the most part. I think the individual lines and interactions were all pretty good. Still don't know about that ending, though. I think I just still feel like I fall on the side of it didn't really need that ending, or it didn't deserve to use kind of a downer ending. It kind of felt like it went that route for the sake of being sad, but then it also kind of contradicted itself too. I don't know if it was supposed to be, you know, saying he survived in the end, or if it was just like, oh, you know, society will live on. Those that pass will give hope to the people in the future, and all that stuff. I've seen a JoJo, I remember that line. So yeah, I'm overall not fond of the ending. The rest of it is fine. Also, like, this is just a small thing, but I feel like Dust should have just thrown General Gaius off a cliff. Like, he still died, but he died by his own terms. He shoved himself off, and there really wasn't redeeming him at all. I think everything else in the game agreed with the fact that he was irredeemable, and I don't think it was so much about saying, you know, it wasn't so much a judgment call to have Gaius throw himself off, more so just kind of a sign that Dust was, part, yeah, there was still a Cassius in there that still kind of cared, and there's hesitation in there. And there's also just the fact that Gaius is an awful, awful person, and he would rather throw himself into lava than face a world where people aren't genocided. Because, again, dude sucks. But I don't know, I still think it's more deserving to throw him off instead of letting him take that choice. But yeah, no, like, other than a few things at the end that I didn't care for, solid game! I'm glad I got to return to it finally. It is definitely a worthwhile experience, and yet another one that has aged very well. Honestly, I feel like we're at a point where, like, unless it's AAA, you're kinda hard-pressed to find something that will age poorly, right? Like, if thought was put into art design and general mechanics, it's probably gonna be fine. Admittedly, I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of NES games, and I clash with those a bit more, but, you know, I still think even those don't age quite as harshly as, you know, some people might consider things to age. Unless they were spitefully made. Unless it's a game that just kills you constantly. But I don't know. I'm very back and forth on NES games. Regardless, after that, it lists Mega Man 11. Alright. Mega Man 11. Very good game. Love it. Probably not going to say too much else, because, again, I just finished that LP. If you want my actual thoughts on it, just go watch Mega Man 11. But excellent looking game, and you know what? I hope people enjoyed it. I am at an age where I do not have my finger on the pulse of people's opinions. I don't visit forums. If I know people like a game, it's usually because I've seen LPs of it, and, you know, I think the general audience, you know, at least from what I saw, enjoys Mega Man 11, which is good, because I feel like people's stubbornness to accept the 16-bit games is not great. I don't think 7 is god-awful. I don't think it's the best, but people act like it's this just awful, unplayable entry in the Mega Man series. It's fine. Mega Man 8 blows it out of the water, but people hate Mega Man 8 too. And then usually their only reason is just, oh, jump, jump, slide, slide. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's not a great segment, but it's not game-ruining. If you think one thing ruins a video game, like, either you're looking for excuses, or there are other things you don't like that you're not acknowledging, or you're really just not giving it a chance, which loops back to the first thing I said, actually. I just repeated myself. But yeah, just... some people thought that 7 was just awful trash garbage, and again, I like Mega Man and Bass more, don't get me wrong, but 7 was fine. But it seems like people nowadays are more willing to accept a non-8-bit Mega Man game. Which is good, because Mega Man 10 taught us that just making it 8-bit doesn't automatically mean it's good. I'm glad 9 wasn't the one to teach us that, because it would have sucked if they did that, you know, for the time, very cool thing of bringing back an 8-bit game, because, you know, that was less common at that point. But they still made a solid game out of it. So it wasn't just a gimmick of, oh hey, look, we're doing 8-bit again. But yeah, no, 11 just looks wonderful, the soundtrack's good, the Robot Masters have a ton of personality, and I love the voice work for them. And you know what? Okay, look. Gear Fortress absolutely feels incomplete. I can't disagree with that, but like... I prefer having an easier time with the finale of a Mega Man game to it being a nightmare. Like, I vastly preferred just having difficulty with exactly one Wily stage, and the rest being kind of a breeze, than King's Castle. Because it's King's Castle, fuck you. That's just an accurate summary of it. It's King's Castle, fuck you. Alright, I forgot to pause. But yeah, again, I've already played 11 and given thoughts on it, so... just go watch that LP. Castlevania 3 is the next on the list, and okay, so going back to, I don't always think that NES games age poorly. Castlevania 3 snuck up on me, because I had actually played it a while back, and I thought it was okay at the time, but going back to it for this LP, I had a lot of fun with 3. I think it's because this time I actually knew what the character switch button was, so I could appreciate that aspect of the game, but I don't know, I really dug it. I think it's a really good-looking NES game. I think it's got a pretty good soundtrack. I really like how... or just like... I like what they added. I want to say replay value, but I actually kind of hate the phrase replay value, but it kind of fits here, right? Like, this is a game with multiple paths. They expect you to play the game multiple times, so that you see the different levels and the different characters, and you know what? I actually enjoyed playing through the different levels. So I guess this is one of the few times that somebody could say replay value, and I would say, oh, that's a statement with actual meaning, and not just the old review way of saying this game has side quests, which ironically make me want to replay a game less. I don't know what reviewers were talking about in, like, the mid-2000s when I was paying attention to stuff like that, but... Yeah, no, there's just a whole lot of... There's a whole lot of meat to Castlevania 3. And even though it has some of the older Castlevania hang-ups that I'm not the biggest fan of, I can set them aside for this game. I still prefer the Metroidvania Castlevania games, but... I'd have to give Super Castlevania 4 a replay, but I think 3 might actually be my favorite. Also, it spawned an absolutely fantastic animation. A shame the guy who, you know, headed the project sucks, but there's plenty of other people. And Netflix Castlevania manages to embody just what is great about Castlevania, in that it is, at times, surprisingly poignant for a vampire hunting series. Yeah, you get a lot of good scenes, and in fact, I would say the animation is so much better at that sort of thing than the games are, because, you know, sometimes in the games you just go, oh, that's kind of neat. Like, I used the example before, but as cheesy as the voice acting is for Symphony of the Night, the opening dialogue is very interesting. You know, this is an okay philosophical debate, especially for a PS1 game. But then you just have the animation, which is just... Every character has emotions, and it's always interesting to watch, and good god, it is the most tragic Dracula, without a doubt. The fucking bedroom. DJB recently did his review of the Castlevania, the Netflix Castlevania, and still couldn't make it through the bedroom scene without crying. Just absolutely stellar voice acting. Just goddamn. Greatest gift you ever gave me, and I'm killing him. Alright, so before I make myself sad, oh my god, okay, so, next off is Haunted PS1 Demo Disc, which of course means it's a whole lot of little games. I'll try to make this one quick, because Haunted PS1 is a lot. But yeah, I've obviously seen Haunted PS1 Demo Disc before. I've seen every iteration of it up until this point. But I've never actually played any of them myself. So, you know, as a first experience of playing it, I liked it. I think it's just really cool having a big ol' collection of various games that may or may not be scary that people can just show off. I think it's just a nice yearly event that is fun and was fun to take part in. Though, the interesting thing is, what I learned down the line is, boy, the Mother demo was less for you to get a demo of Mother and more for that team's whole thing. There's a lot more to it than just a demo of a game you could have bought beforehand. So if you'd played Mothered, you shouldn't sleep on it. Otherwise, I absolutely did not get as much out of that game as I could have. But let's see what games I can remember off the top of my head that I'm looking forward to. Dead Letter Department was just neat. Probably the most horror-ish horror game on that list. That I definitely wanted to see more of. Very fond of that one. Unique, pretty good at building up dread and paranoia. I'm looking forward to that. Gob, which, you know, not really a horror game, but definitely a cool-looking adventure game. I'm following the developer's Twitter, but hopefully they are somewhere else I can follow them, because, you know, Twitter is just constantly on the verge of exploding at this point. But yeah, no, cool adventure game that is actually based on just not having dialogue at all, which is not normally my thing. I usually am an advocate for dialogue and having characters who talk and interact and stuff, but you know what? It's got a lot of charm, looks absolutely fantastic. Not a lot of people go for claymation. But it does it, and it does it well. And I feel like when I actually remembered all of my controls, the puzzles weren't too obscure. Like, the only thing that really stumped me was the time I forgot what the crouch button was, so I didn't know where to go, until I remembered, oh yeah, I can crawl, and then I crawled under a table, and there you go. Time will tell, of course, if, she can keep up, you know, not being obtuse for the whole thing, because look, adventure games with dialogue have fucked that up. It's kind of why they died, because they just got very obtuse and too obsessed with, you know, being weird and confusing and requiring a guide, and as it turns out, nobody liked that. So we stopped having, like, a lot of adventure games for a while. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that, and again, I should make a mental note to follow Gamma Girl somewhere else. Let's see, I always forget what the name of it is, but the Resident Evil Mystery Dungeon is just really cool from just how they set it up. I think it's clever that they made a horror mystery dungeon, and just a lot of its tells and, you know, a lot of its things are based on Resident Evil. So it's a game that really wears its inspiration on its sleeve, but it's not just trying to be like a PS1 Resident Evil game, which I probably would have liked less if they were just PS1 Resident Evil, considering from what I was able to see from that initial cutscene that didn't play correctly, it was kind of just doing the PS1 Resident Evil intro. But it's not literally just Resident Evil, so I'll give it a pass for that. We'll have to see how that is in the long run. Let's see, next game that come to mind was, what was that? Fear the Spotlight? I think it was called Fear the Spotlight. That one, that's the other, like, very horror-y horror game that I'm interested in, from that collection. I just thought it had a pretty intriguing story, and monster design seemed interesting. I probably could have actually run, when the monster was around, so it's probably a faster game than I showed off, but I just didn't want to take any chances. I figured if I had the flashlight on and if I ran a lot, I'd be caught. Anyway, though, yeah, no, it's a little bit typical in what it does. You know, it is a, hide from the monster at certain points kind of game. Do some puzzles, run from a monster, that sort of thing. Let's see, what else? Blast Cats just seems like a fun time. A lot of people were saying Wario World, and I can see that. Look, if a game just wants to be Wario World, that's fine. I'm hoping to see a lot of cool, weird themes from Blast Cats. Let's see what else. Be United, I would like to see an improvement to the stealth section, but other than that, good vibe, good aesthetic. I enjoyed myself with that one, and it was otherwise pretty fun. It's a little bit janky, but not in a way I mind too much. Again, outside of the stealth section, which the dev popped in to say, haha, yeah, that still needs improvement. It has undergone improvement and will continue undergoing improvement, so, you know. That's why it's a demo. Sometimes these things aren't perfectly made. Sometimes you do have to see early dev problems. But that's fine. At least that means it won't be a surprise to anybody going forward, and will be improved later. Let's see. Anything else? Let me just see if I can pick up anything from the playlist thumbnails. And Chain is one I wanted to like, but I was kind of bad at, and it didn't run super well. Overall, pretty cool, but I wasn't super great at it. Oh, shoot, what was that? What was the one with Vanessa called? The, dungeon crawler one. Which one was this? Because that one was also interesting. Let's see. They Speak from the Abyss. There we go. Yeah, I was fond of They Speak from the Abyss. Want to see more of that one. I was so close to liking North Star Courier. God. Dishonorable mention to that one, which just decided... I liked most of what it was doing, even though it felt a bit, like... Felt a bit jank and a little bit empty. I wasn't quite sure if it was supposed to be an empty world with just a few people, or if I'm supposed to imply that there's a small population here. But I don't know, I liked how it looked, and I liked how calm it was, and it seemed like it was building for something, to something interesting, and then maybe only for the demo, just decided to do real wacky shit, and you can have tonal whiplash, it didn't work there. Let's see, anything else? See, I'd feel really bad if I forgot anything. I'll just check the descriptions real quick. Let's see. House of Necrosis was the mystery dungeon. Already mentioned Gob. This was the Benighted stream, so that's just gonna be Benighted. Same thing for Enchain. Let's see, Arcade Woe I still think was just only for the demo. Let's see, Fear the Spotlight. Oh, Miracle Bug in the Electric Limbo. That dev does like a lot of little things, so I don't know if they're supposed to be a full game, but I liked what I saw from that. It's a walk-around game that I liked the general feel of. Alright, and I think that's all the games I wanted to mention. Why does YouTube think Minecraft appeared in the last video? Well, anyway. Alright, so yeah, I enjoyed that, and I'd certainly be willing to take a look at next year's demo collections, because I got to see a lot of little games that I might not have gotten to see otherwise. Because a lot of the other things I played were more mainline. That being said, I'll have to bite the bullet and actually check the games out and see how well they run, because if there's anything I don't like, it's not being able to show off a game well. Like, a little bit of stuttering here and there, for, like, main streams, the big games that have been optimized or whatever. That's fine. I know I don't have the best laptop. These things happen. But when it's somebody's demo and it doesn't run super well, and I know that that's probably on my end, maybe a little bit on the dev end, but mostly on my end, I just feel bad because, then it just looks bad. And that's completely unfair to the thing I'm playing, so next time I'll have to bite the bullet and actually play these things ahead of time, which, The thing where you walk around the mall to find demos is a new thing. There have, of course, been, like, overworlds for these, but none of them have been so extensive and kind of like games unto themselves like Spectral Mall was, so I don't know if they'll do that again. And I don't want to, ruin the surprise for anything, because I did enjoy walking around and seeing the games, and learning about them bit by bit, but never felt good to screw things up. always felt bad when I accidentally made things look bad. Alright. Okay, so in terms of stuff I played for the internet, I've only got 2 things left. Dragon Ball Xenoverse and Roundabout. Dragon Ball Xenoverse I've been having a lot more fun with than I thought I would. It's kind of filling the hole that Prototype left, where it's kind of a dumb action game, but it's a little more in-depth than just stupid action. There's a little bit of strategy to it, but not so much that you don't think, boy, I'm thinking way too much for a Dragon Ball game. Yeah, no, I've been enjoying myself. It's a little grind-heavy, but it hasn't been horrible. And honestly, like, I haven't been grinding lately, and I still feel like I can do story missions just fine, so it's not horribly grindy. It's mostly just, if you see a move you really want, you might have to do the same mission over and over again while you try to get that move, which is kind of a bummer, but whatever. Stat-wise, I've been fine, and Roundabout, also a pretty fun game. Fun arcadey game that I don't think was necessarily for me, though. I don't think I can wrap my head around a arcadey puzzle game where you're constantly spinning. Because there are just times when, you know, I've been doing just fine in Roundabout, and then I suddenly stop doing well. Sometimes my brain is just like, alright, I've had enough spinning. You don't know how to do this puzzle anymore. But, I definitely dug the general atmosphere of it, though. They did a good job making a, 70s-esque comedy game. In terms of being funny, I would have placed this above, Gunpoints. Funnier than Gunpoints. Not, like, the funniest thing I've played, but I enjoyed it well enough, and it seems like everybody had fun recording it, so it wasn't a miserable time. At worst, I didn't laugh at some jokes, but I was never just sitting there going, oh god, why isn't this ending? So yeah, I enjoyed it. And again, it's a very cool, unique game for people whose brains can do that. Alright, and, hey, wait, hold on a sec, where? Oh, it must be way back there. That's right, yeah, no, YouTube is ordering these by, when the playlist was actually created, rather than when it was last updated, because, of course, how could I possibly forget to mention Scarlet Hollow? Because that's still coming out, but you know, new chapters of Scarlet Hollow came out this year, so it's still viable for me to say, hey, here's a new 2022 game that I can talk about. One of the few things I can play and say is new when I played it is a game that has technically been out for a few years now. However, it's ongoing, so it counts. I still adore it, though. Look, at this point, it's a long endeavor, making Scarlet Hollow, but, like, I feel like, Avi and Tony have, at this point, just shown that they have the chops to keep it up, so I'm not really worried about the game going south at any point. It seems like it is a story where they really respect their characters, and they really respect the decisions that you make, but also the autonomy of each and every character. It is a game where there is, like, a relationship system. People can like you more or less. However, the game's never going to tell you, like, Stella will remember this or anything like that. You kind of have to intuit by how people react to you and how they continue interacting with you as to whether or not they like you. And you know what? Good for them for assuming their audience can actually pick up on, you know, context and character reactions and all of that. It is absolutely not something that a lot of games would trust their players for. It is also just a really neat ongoing mystery that I think I have a grasp on it, but there's still a whole lot of elements to be added. Like, you know, the whole thing that happened in episode 4 that came out recently. I won't give away any of the specific story stuff in either chapter 3 or 4, because it's definitely something you should play yourself, but, I think they are very interesting plot beats, both the ones from this year. I'm trying to figure out if I like episode 3 or 4, though, because both of those came out this year. And I really liked 3 and I really liked 4. I want to say that maybe I liked episode 3 more, because I'm thinking about, like, the aesthetics of the big moment of that one, like the big thing that you're going to see, the big actually dangerous part, and just the whole style of that scene, or, you know, multiple scenes technically, is just absolutely my shit, just from... It's hard to talk about it without spoiling it, weird. Just the way things move, and, you know, the actual... I guess saying there is a haunting isn't a huge spoiler. The haunting that is going on, and the way that comes across, the one that happens in Chapter 3 is absolutely my shit. But then again, Chapter 4 is also stylish in a similar but very different way that I also appreciate. So, I don't know, they're both really good. I will say, the choice in, episode 3 has been the first one where you really can't excuse anything as a bluff, because the ones in the first 2 episodes are kind of based on context and a bit of reaction time as well. Like, a thing happens, what do you do? And it has consequences. Oh boy, does it have consequences. But you can also excuse it as like, oh well, I didn't do that, or like, this person died because I didn't do that, but I didn't do that because it would be my natural reaction to go for this. And a similar kind of thing happens in Chapter 2, where it's like, okay, well, this thing is happening, and I would like to just leave, but I won't, and so I'm gonna do... Well, Having seen the recent dev stream from Black Tabby, the other choice that I didn't take, you have to be very active in. You have to be very active in it, to the point where they did do that action, and the character involved fucking hates you afterwards, which was wild to see. Okay, slight spoilers. I did a lot of jokes, starting up episode 4 about, you know, Oscar and his family hating me for all that has transpired to his family. But, no, they're still pretty chill with me. Very much would not be if I had made other choices. Rosalina could really fucking hate you. Also, you can piss off Oscar because you can just be an absolute idiot. And you can tell Rosalina to shut up, which they showed off just for the sake of showing it off, and then they loaded the save because why would you be that much of a dick to the kid? I think it was Tony who mentioned, like, there are just some options that he has to write so that they can exist, and he feels terrible about writing them even though no one's going to see them. And I'm one of those people. Look, I can't be that much of a dick. I cannot tell the grieving child to shut up. I cannot be bullied so hard that I tell a fucking teen to shut up. Okay, spoilers over, I think. But yeah, no, 3 is the first one where it just sits down and say, you can do this, or you can do this. Your decision will have consequences, no matter what. And, like, you can't just say, well, you know, I would have died for that thing because, you know, that's just what I would have done. That's my reaction. You actually have to sit down and say, all right, can I go through with this thing? You actually have to just take responsibility, like complete responsibility, and you can't excuse yourself. And then, apparently, Abby and Tony were actually divided on like the big choice of 4, so that's interesting. Because, like, it's really hard to not spoil things. Ever tried to discuss a story thing without spoiling it? Look, there is a choice that I personally feel is a fairly correct one, even though it does screw somebody over, and I feel bad for them, and maybe that's not enough. But also, again, going back to the dev stream, there's actually a third option, and you might, or, well, fourth, I'm sure there is a good option to help out in that one as well. However, there is a secret fourth option, which is not a golden route. No, that just makes things more sad, actually. They did that on that stream. Boy, you can stumble into something that happens. Again, very hard to discuss a story thing, just play Scarlet Hollow yourself. Or at least watch the dev stream. I thought that was also entertaining. It's like 11 hours, but like... I thought it was a very interesting stream. It was a good watch. I would recommend it, and it did show off some options that I absolutely would not have taken. Anything else? Oh, dude. Another thing I can't spoil, but I want to mention, because, like... Okay, OBS really hates the cutscenes in that game, the animated cutscenes, and I don't know why, but, like, anytime a cutscene happens, it's just a slideshow. Which is normally not a huge deal, right? Because, like, they do set a mood. But... you know, they're not entirely necessary, so it's not the worst thing that I missed out on them. And maybe it's not the worst thing that I missed out on this either, because a thing happens in the cutscene for episode 4 that is actually extremely gruesome, and I don't think the slideshow that showed at the end actually displayed the thing that happens. But needless to say, I already understood why one of the characters was traumatized. I can very much understand why they're traumatized more so now, because, that one needs a content warning. But yeah, no, that one's actually crucial to get a certain thing across. Again, can't really discuss it because I'm not playing Scarlet Hollow right now. This isn't the end of that stream, so you might be watching this without having watched that stream. Probably not. Probably not going to watch this at all, but I won't spoil you for it anyway. Oh, hello, bot. How's it going? Just had to get one more for the road, huh? Couldn't leave 2022 alone. thank you. I don't know how mod options work. Anyway, though, where was I? Before I was so rudely interrupted. Let's... Oh yeah, so, yeah, very gruesome cutscene. First one where it's like... Kinda sucks that I missed this one because it was a bit necessary. I mean, it is kind of a tone setter like the other ones, but it also displays an event. You leave for like a minute. That's when the bots come in. These robots, they know how to predict the future. They knew you were getting up. But yeah, no, I guess at the end of the day, all I can say is just, hey, play Scarlet Hollow. I keep telling you to do it. You should do it. It's worth it. And I will absolutely be looking forward to episode 5 next year. And maybe 6 as well, though. Who knows? Every time they do a new episode, there is just so much to take into consideration because it's a gigantic game already, so... Who knows how long the next one will take? It is a long undertaking, but I am, at this point, just 100% confident in their abilities. Like, I was pretty confident before. They seemed like they could do the thing. But, no, I'm just looking forward to the coming episodes. Alright, so I think that's the only thing YouTube would have hidden from my view. Because Deltarune was last year, right? Yeah, Deltarune was definitely last year. I know the passage of time is ridiculous, but that was last year's whole thing, so... Still gotta wait for Deltarune Episode 3. We are in a post-Deltarune Episode 2 world. We will one day reach Episode 3, and when we do, that will be yet another cultural event. So since that's done, I do still have a few more games that I have played, but not for stream. So one sec while I just grab a pile of Switch games. Good God, this is precarious. Okay, so let me just look down the line. Alright, so what came out this year that I played? Oh, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. I need to get back and finish that. That's gonna be a thing I say for a lot of these games because I started a whole lot of good games and then never finished them, but Fire Emblem 3 Hopes is great. It is different enough from Three Houses that I don't feel like they're stepping on any tones, but they also go in their own wild direction with the storyline. So, like, not only is it inoffensive to Three Houses, which I liked a lot, it's also just really wild. It is interesting in its own right. Let's see, after that... Oh, Kirby and the Forgotten Land came out this year. Fun game. Haven't finished it, but I got past the first map. Like, you have the initial map that has a whole lot of worlds, but then you defeat a fairly important boss, and then you go on to a new set of maps. That's how far I got. I need to get back to that, but... Very fun game. They did a very good job of translating Kirby into a 3D space, which is, you know... It has been a while since that would have been a possibility, and they never took the chance until now. Because, yeah, all the way back at the N64, they just elected to do a 2D game, or 2.5D, really, because it's a 3D game, but you move in a 2D space. But, yeah, good game. I liked it, just fell off of it because, for some reason, playing a handheld is difficult, and I don't know why. Let's see. Still haven't played that. Did Metroid Dread come out this year or last year? Hold on a sec. Because if Metroid Dread came out this year, then that is absolutely... If I were a list-making gal... Okay, no, that was 2021, so... That's one the passage of time got me on, because I could not remember. I genuinely forgot what year that came out, but that was last year, so... Still good. Not gonna say it's not. Metroid Dread, still pretty good. Still one of my favorite Metroids. Without a doubt. Let's see. Pokemon Legends Arceus. I was having a good time with Arceus. And then I stopped playing because... Okay, like, most of the games I just fell out for no particular reason. Just because, like, I don't have time to play, and then by the time I do, I'm just like, well, now I'm on something else. Arceus, in particular, I fell off of because they announced Scarlet and Violet in the same year. Same goddamn year that Arceus came out. They just said, hey, here's another one. And look, Arceus might be a spin-off title, but it might as well be a full-on Pokemon game. You are still catching and battling more or less how you would in a mainline game. It's basically just a mainline game. So they announced Scarlet and Violet, and I just went from, oh, I'm having fun with Pokemon Legends Arceus to, okay, but now I have to finish Arceus as fast as possible, so I'm not too tired of Pokemon by the time the next game comes out. And you know that thing about chasing two rabbits? Yeah, so I fell off of Pokemon Legends Arceus because I didn't want to rush through it. And, like, I could have gone at a faster pace than I was, because I was doing, like, all the perfect dexes early on. I could have at least not done that, but, like, another Pokemon game coming out in the same year just made me be like, oh, well, I don't feel like playing this. But then by the time Scarlet and Violet came out, I wasn't really in the mood for that either, because I wanted to finish Arceus and I was annoyed that I wasn't. And then, of course, Scarlet and Violet came out and, well, it's kind of a mess. They are apparently patching it, but yeah, no. Me not playing Scarlet and Violet has less to do with, like, oh, it's the worst game ever, because, you know, Pokemon fans say that a lot, but it's not usually true. This one's particularly messy, but I'm sure I would have been fine playing it. But again, they announced another one in the same year, and I'm just burnt down on Pokemon all of a sudden. But you know, maybe this year will roll around and the counter will have been reset. Like, now that a mainline Pokemon game has released, it will be another 3 years before another one comes out. So they can just fucking chill, maybe. And while they just fucking chill, I can take that time to take my time with Pokemon Legends Arceus, and maybe even Scarlet or Violet, whichever one had the hot cave lady professor. I don't remember which version that was. You know what the real final nail in the coffin is, though? If there was, like, proper fashion in that game, I actually would have bit the bullet and just bought it anyway. Because Pokemon games have some of my favorite character customizers because, like, I liked X because it was, you know, the first mainline Pokemon game I played, like, when it came out. So that was exciting. And then years later, I came out as trans, and suddenly that game went from, enjoy this for being my first, like, big event Pokemon game to, oh, I can now wear pretty skirts and dresses. Cool. And yeah, now that's just kind of been a thing I really unironically love about the Pokemon game since then. But yeah, no, apparently you're just stuck in your school uniform in Scarlet Violet, so 0 out of 10 worst game. Let's see, Splatoon 3. I don't play a lot of multiplayer. Splatoon's one of my exceptions, but even then I don't play a lot of it. But I had fun with what little multiplayer I was able to do. It seems like another Splatoon. I enjoy it. I wish I had more time with it. I was clicking with a roller pretty well again, though. When I dropped off of Splatoon 2's multiplayer and came back for a little bit, I wasn't good against anyone, but I was getting some pretty good matches. I'm also not done with the story mode yet, but that one's fun. They basically just took Octo expansion and smashed it into the story modes of the first two games, and it's been fun. I do kind of just want to clear it and be done with it, though, admittedly. I have so much else I want to do. I have to finish Kirby. And, like, I kind of just want to get to the point where there is plot in Splatoon 3, so I can enjoy that. And then be done with it. Let's see. Alright, and it looks like the last game on the list is Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which I have only just started, so I cannot pass judgment on it at all, because I'm so early in it. Now, I will say, I've seen a couple people say that it's their favorite Xenoblade, which is impressive, because usually the agreement is like, even when you like Xenoblade 2, you probably like one more. So I am interested in seeing what's good about Xenoblade 3, but I like what I've seen so far. The intro is not subtle in the slightest, and I love it because now I just want to know where it goes from there. Because the whole intro is just, you learn about the people. Like, it's not a secret what's happening. You are playing as a bunch of people who are literally raised to be soldiers. Like, there is a short cutscene you see of a person just waving a wand, and a fetus turns into a full-grown person in a tank. Like, no subtlety whatsoever. People are literally just made for war. They live exactly 10 years, if that. You will probably die before you hit 10, but if you do hit 10 years old, then you get to take a knee in front of your monarch and then explode into energy, and everybody thinks that's super great and honorable. It probably won't happen to you. You'll probably just die and get your soul devoured by the other person's giant robot. All that will be left is a husk. Again, not subtle in the slightest. Cannot wait to see what they could possibly do from this, because this is like the end point of a Xenoblade game, or most RPGs, right? Like, normally you would learn down the line that, like, oh, you were actually raised from a tube to be a soldier, and that, oh no, when people die, their souls are eaten. No, you just know that from the word go. That's just the thing you learn in the game's opening hour. But I have gotten far enough to see sort of the main inciting incident that actually gets the party together, and gets the game into motion. And, like, so far that's been pretty solid across all the Xenoblade games. Xenoblade 1's is great, 2's is great. X's, I think I reached, it's like 5 chapters in. It's the one where you kind of learn a pretty major secret that's slightly spoiled by a mechanic that the like tutorials will hint at but won't actually tell you about. But as it turns out, that gear icon that you haven't had access to is significant, and you won't be able to use that feature because you don't know a particular thing about yourself. So that's probably the weakest one, but this one's has been pretty solid. And, man, I really dig the, I guess, Metal Face equivalent, if you want to compare it to other Xenoblades, because, man, this motherfucker just comes in, and you just know from the animation that he is a bastard, and I love him. I don't remember what his name is, because all the villains that have been introduced just go by, like, single letters, so I forget what letter he is, but he's great. He just enters, and he is a son of a bitch, and you just know it. I've also gotten far enough where I have discovered how the party system works. Where, okay, so like in the beginning hours of the game, you have a party of three, and then you have a different party of three, and then stuff happens, and then the parties of three come together. I'm like, okay, but how do I switch characters into the party? I can switch who is the lead character and who I'm playing as for a fight, but how do I actually adjust what the party is? You don't. It's all six. It's all six characters. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. There's also space on like the menu for a seventh person. Uh, the secret characters in Xenoblades 1 and 2 have both been pretty good. And they've been pretty interesting in how they work. So, like, I don't even know if that's going to be like a permanent slot or like a guest slot or whatever have you. I'm thankful that, you know, even if Twitter weren't dying, my timeline isn't really full of spoilers anyway, so I don't even have a guess as to who could be a seventh party member or how that's going to work out. So, like, I'm really looking forward to this. Also, Xenoblade 2 does not tutorial well. It seems like it's fun when you know what or like how to play, but I didn't play Xenoblade Chronicles 2 either. I do want to one day, but I've had zero qualms jumping into 3. You will probably appreciate it more for at least having watched Xenoblade 2, which is also an endeavor. Dang. I will. When I'm done with Xenoblade, I will have to ask you what that is. But yeah, no, like, I think you can skip the other games and just go right to Xenoblade 3 if you want to. You will get more for at least knowing the storyline of both games, though. And, like, considering how 2 actually does wind up being kind of connected to 1 in certain ways, um, I'm now curious as to how 3 is going to connect to the other ones, because, like, X, as far as I know, didn't, but it's called Xenoblade Chronicles X. It's kind of a black sheep by design. It's not a numbered sequel, therefore it doesn't have anything to do with any of their plots, so that makes sense. But now that this is Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I have to know, why did they make this 3? There are allusions, like, there are a few things I could mention that would be spoilers, but I will say the initial colony that you start in is Colony 9 in Xenoblade 3, which is, of course, a reference to Xenoblade 1, where the main character's hometown was also Colony 9. Yeah, no, like, I can't say whether or not I like the game yet. I mean, I've enjoyed what I've played so far, but I have absolutely nothing truly specific about it from what I've played. I'm early on in an RPG. You know how it is. You kind of need to play more to have more thoughts on it because it's very story based. But I definitely like the promise of what it's set up so far. Oh, and I will also say, definitely dig Noah as a main character so far. Like, all the Xenoblade main characters have been, kind of nice boy protagonists to a certain extent, or at least on their face. They have more depth than just that. But Noah's been pretty cool. Sort of as the, like, character who figures out that things just aren't right in society. Because he works as an offseer, which, think like Final Fantasy X, right? You have Yuna doing her dances. He plays the flute so that, the souls of the departed can move on. And there's also just this one isn't too much of a spoiler, but like one of the first cutscenes is just everybody looking over a battlefield, and he actually plays for everybody on the battlefield, including the soldiers on the other side who perished because they don't have an Offseer. So, that's neat. I like Noah. The cast in general seems pretty good. I also appreciate that Mio is the dodge tank, so I'll probably be playing as her the most if I had to guess. But yeah, in terms of protagonists, yeah, Noah and Mio both seem like they are going to be pretty good. Can't tell for sure yet, but everybody seems to think that Xenoblade 3 is great, so I am expecting good things. I know I ragged on a different Monolith title earlier, but for the most part, I do really like their games, especially the Xenoblade games. And like, Xenogears isn't terrible, it's just, man, I wish it were finished and also that the mech sections weren't way more boring than just the on-foot combat. It's weird how that happened. I also have basically no knowledge of Xeno Saga, so I can't comment there. Alright, well, that starts with an X, so of course that's the very end of my pile of Switch games, so I think I've covered everything I played in 2022. Wow, I thought that was going to be a super short stream, but I'm actually over my usual time, so, as it turns out, I can ramble about things that I like for a bit. And also some things I don't like. Prototype was in there. Just burn the sacrificial AAA game on the pyre. One of the games I played this year had to be the worst one. So you know what? If it's a AAA game, that's fine by me. They're a dime a dozen. It would be way more tragic if I played an indie game that I really, really didn't like. Especially if it, was one with actual effort poured into it and not just something somebody cobbled together with fucking assets to just throw on Steam. That I can tell the fuck off, but, something made with actual passion, I'd just be sad. But hey, that's why Prototype was there. Alright, well, that being said, though, we're in the last hour of 2022. It's almost 2023, but I'm gonna close out now. I see no reason to get all the way to the end. And besides, I have been looking for an excuse to play Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I just said, hey, I haven't played through enough of the game to give it a proper call yet, but it's engaging enough that I want to play more. So, there's that. So I will do that. But for now, 2023, what games are even coming out? I suppose this is going to have to be I will play things when I happen upon them. I suppose a lot of the things from the Haunted demo disc are going to be coming out this year. A lot of them said they would come out like late 2022, but understandable that they might not. I think probably most of them aren't going to be out for a while. Nintendo probably has some stuff I'll want to play. Oh! Fire Emblem Engage. That's one of my other Christmas presents, but of course, that's not out until January 20th, so obviously that, don't have it yet. But that is a game that's coming out, and it's Fire Emblem, so I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, other than that, I don't know what's coming out either in terms of new game or new mainstream games or indie things. So I was just gonna play it by ear and see what comes my way in the new year. Otherwise, in terms of stuff that I'll be playing when it starts, more or less the things I've been playing. I'm just gonna be playing Xenoblade 3 in my off time. Let's see, I've got a bunch of LPs, going to be playing through the Mega Man X series, which will be a time. Let's see. I've completely forgotten what I'm LPing. Oh, yeah, Shantae I'm already done playing, so you'll just be seeing the aftermath of that. And then the LP that happens after that is one I didn't play, and in fact, that's just been Loka in charge of that one, and we've been doing it for a while, and we are in fact done with it at this point. So, I am actually set on the Wednesday slot until June, but I am actually very excited for the thing that I will be LPing after that. In fact, I did actually use some of my vacation time to just start recording for that, and oh man, I'm really excited for that one. That one has been fun to record even when it hasn't been fun to record. It is a game that can be a bastard sometimes, but it is one that I am more confident in doing a no-hit run for the most part. It's not going to upload for a while. It's Sonic Adventure 2. I can't wait for that one. I'm actually going to... Just as a note for what's ahead, I'm actually just going to be mashing the Hero and Dark stories together, not playing one and then the other. So I've definitely been having fun editing that together. Despite the fact that, you know... There are no overworld stages, it's just all action stages, which means when you pick up the upgrade items in the game autosaves, that means you just have that item forever. So, you know, I have to do some editing around the fact that once I get an item, I just have to keep that leg of the run, even if I fuck up afterwards. Despite that, I'm still having fun playing the game, even though it has also been a little bit anxiety-inducing. I don't even think it looks bad or anything, it's just I just want clean runs. Just want one good, clean run that I don't have to break or whatever. Anyway, that's enough complaining. And then after that, we have Fire Emblem Echoes. That'll go on for a little while longer. I don't know for sure what I want to play after that. I'll probably do something a bit shorter. Mega Man Network Transmission isn't too long. I think that's what I'm gravitating towards. Because that's the weird, like, more anime-based Battle Network game that's also a platformer. So that won't be as long. And I do want to get through the Battle Networks, unless I have to get until Battle Network 3. Because Battle Network 3 has one of the best scenes in the entire series, and Loka needs to see it. So I do need to work towards the goal of Battle Network 3. So I should make progress on that. I'll consider that. I should also, however, consider that it has been ages since I've played a Final Fantasy game. And you know, the next one on the list is Final Fantasy V. And I could potentially just, like, do the 5-job fiesta, or 4-job fiesta, and just say, that's my time in Final Fantasy V, but I don't want to. I actually want to get a bit more in-depth with 5, because 5 is a very good game. So that's another thing I'm considering. In terms of streams, there is, of course, Valkyrie Profile. That's on Saturday. I'm almost done with that one, though. I've had a bunch of games that I've wanted to do. A lot of them are actually RPGs, but a few of them aren't. Like, honestly, most of the PS1 game RPGs I've mentioned might be in the running at some point. I probably won't do an RPG immediately. Other than that, I could always buy the Klonoa collection on Steam, and then play Klonoa 2. That's an option. Yeah, I don't know. Dragon Ball Xenoverse is on Thursday. That one will probably last a little while longer. Though not too much longer. I'm approaching the end of the game. But there's, of course, the optional missions and the GT DLC, which. Do I have to play that? I mean, I guess I already bought it, so I should, but it's GT. Can't I just pretend it doesn't exist? Ah, well. Anyway, though, there's still a little bit of life left in that one. And then, of course, Tuesday is the day where I play Steam games, though I think I'm actually going to be... I think I'm just going to change that to just like a general game clearing day. Just games I have not beaten, I will play them on Tuesday. Because Way of the Samurai 4 didn't work at all, I'm going to switch to Ys Origin, which I can't pronounce as Y's Origin since I'm actually playing it. But yeah, I kind of just switched that at last second, but I think overall, Tuesday is just going to be I'm going to clear a game, which is different from Saturday, where sometimes the game I play is one I've already finished. Let's see. That being said, though, soon enough I should have a new pool of games to add. So we'll have to see how that goes. But until then, first few months, got a general idea of what I'm doing. Gonna be a whole... Honestly, first few months is just gonna be Mega Man X, Fire Emblem, and after Shantae's done, the thing that replaces Shantae. It's just gonna be that for a bit. And stream-wise, Valkyrie Profile will be over soon. And the other two will last a little while longer, so... yeah, it's what early 2023 is gonna look like. Yeah, anyway, for now, though, I've just kept talking. Again, I thought this was going to be a real quick stream. I kind of figured I'd be done by, like, 10 o'clock, but apparently I can just meander about things. So anyway, there's a whole lot of stuff. If you want to know where you can find the VODs and the LPs I mentioned, that's Fefner Masamune on YouTube. Other streams happen Tuesday and Thursday. Those are at 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. The Saturday one is 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to throw money at me, especially if you are at risk for having rich person brain rot, you should do so through Patreon or Coffee. I'm Fefner on both those sites. If you're not in danger of rich person brain rot, you don't have to, but it would be nice. I'd appreciate it. You can also find links to that stuff easily enough in the Twitch bio or the YouTube banner or underneath the YouTube videos. Alright, well then, I have had no water for like a half hour, and I'm very thirsty now, so I'm gonna stop streaming and go drink and play Xenoblade for like half an hour and then fall asleep, and I got work tomorrow, damn it. Ugh. I like having a backlog, I'm glad I got that stuff done, but ugh, I gotta go back to work. Anyway. That's my problem. Everybody else's problems are their own, so you just go and worry about your own for now. Maybe you'll stay up till midnight, maybe you won't, I don't know. By the time you're watching this, it's probably a VOD anyway, so it's probably 2023 already, so... Anyway. Have a good, maybe half hour of 2022, unless you're not watching this from Eastern Time, in which case, whatever time you have left, enjoy it. 2023 will happen soon, either way. And we'll just have to deal with that. So, yeah, have a good night, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.